So on my switch, I have no configuration at the moment. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to enable modes or privilege modes. There's no password, so by default, anyone who has access via console can access the switch without any passwords. We'll take care of that in just a minute. The first thing I'm going to do is go to Global Configuration Mode, Configure Terminal, and put this name of the device. Host name is going to be SW1. Now we can obviously abbreviate that to host name like this. And the moment we hit enter, the command was syntactically correct, so it takes effect immediately, and the prompt shows me now SW1. The first thing I'm going to do is, the second thing actually I'm going to do is to enable the interface, let's say VLAN 1. My default VLAN, this is called SVI interface, switch virtual interface. I'm going to enable IP address for the management purpose. Normally in production it would definitely not be VLAN 1, but we'll take care of that at some later point. So for now I'll go IP address, and it's going to be 10.10.10. Actually, let's go 10.1.1.10 with the network mask 255.255.255.0. So this type of a switch unfortunately requires that you put the mask exactly like I did. And you cannot abbreviate to slash, say, 24. Again, this is the older type of switch. That's how it's done. Once I hit enter, I can display the configuration already of that interface. Now, the problem is that the show commands don't work. If I do show commands, show running config, interface, VLAN 1, it's going to be an error. It doesn't recognize, oh, SH, I know what that is in here. I could do shutdown, but O is not. So in order to do that, normally you would have to step down by typing end or Control Z here and repeat my command. So show run interface VLAN 1. I could see that. However, there's a way around that. If I'm still somewhere else in any configuration mode, let's say I'm back in my interface VLAN 1 configuration. So first I went to global config mode, then interface VLAN 1 from there. I am on the config interface VLAN 1 at the moment. I can't do that if I do precede my show commands with a do keyword. So if I say do show run interface VLAN 1, I can display all those commands. I can use all those show commands if I precede them with a do keyword. So currently IP address is assigned on the VLAN 1 interface, but interface itself is shut down. So to bring this back up, it will do no shutdown. And by default, every interface, let's step down for a moment. So here we see the message saying that interface just came back up. How do we verify it's up? The best way is to do show interface VLAN 1. If you're in a global config mode or any other mode, do show interface VLAN 1. And currently, if I scroll back up here, maybe let's just bring this down a notch. VLAN interface is up, that's layer 1 connectivity, and the line protocol is up as well, that's a layer 2 connectivity. All is good. An IP address is 10.1.1.10/24. This is the MAC address of the interface, burnt in address, and currently configured. It's the same address by default. So now all is good, this interface is up. And so if I do, let's say, show IP interface brief command, I'll see also here that the VLAN 1 interface is up. Now, let's see that all interfaces belong to VLAN 1 by default. Show interface status. That's my next command on the switch. And, well, something is configured here, but don't mind that. So currently, this is the virtual software, so type is unknown, but on a real equipment it will be showing you speed and type properly. But each interface belongs to VLAN 1. VLAN 1 is right here. And each interface is by default connected to VLAN 1. Okay, so what's next in the basic configuration? Passwords. So at the moment, anybody who has physical access to the box via console port, types in enable, and gets to the privilege mode. How to protect that? Let's just go back, maybe reset my terminal, and we're gonna go conft, and we'll say enable password, and this is where you put your secret password. This is not the best way to do it on the box, and the reason why, do show run include, actually, do show run, let's scroll down for the first time. Scroll down. So this is where the configuration, displaying configuration helps a little bit. We see our configuration of the LAN interface. If I scroll back up, back up, back up, back up, I will see something here like this. Enable password Cisco. So if you display the configuration and somebody's looking over your shoulder, they will see what the password is. So the best way to prevent that from happening is to encrypt all the passwords that are currently in a clear text format. So we will say the command service password encryption. If I do the same thing this time around, I will display just this, do show run. Actually, let's go do show run and include. You can use keyword include password. If there's any password, currently it is basically encrypted. This is easy to crack, because if I just go to any website, if I have this string somehow obtained, if I say Cisco password cracker, that password is actually very easy to crack. So this is not the best way to do it. Instead, okay, let's me type in type 7 password is the basic password. If I hit now crack the password, I get my Cisco. So the best way to do it is actually no enable password and do enable secret. And let's go for Cisco as well. Let's see how this manifests itself in the config. Show run include secret. So that only display including line with the keyword secret in it. And now this is type 4 MD. That's MD5 password, I believe. Now this is uncrackable. This is one-way encryption. You cannot decrypt that. You can only maybe emulate and try to use a brute force attack and get the same hash. So that's the best way to do it. What else do we do? We can access the equipment via VTY lines. So at the very bottom, do show run on my configuration, there are 15 lines by default. Actually, default is here 0 through 4, 5 lines, but there's 15 on the real equipment. This is where the connection can come in. Also, line console can be configured here and requires some password. Why is that? Because if I exit out and connect my computer, if I connect my computer now via console port, hit enter, I get access at least to the console. Obviously, I need to now present the password for enabled modes. If I don't know it, obviously it's not going to let me in, but we can also protect this console. So how do we do that? Let's just log in back on and conft, and we will need to enter line console 0. Typically what is done here, we will have a password. Let's just say Cisco as well, maybe. Should be a different password, by the way, and it shouldn't be simple like that. This is a lab, so I just do this for simplicity. What I would do here on this line, and I would require a login, and I would do also, so this will basically prompt the user for login. If I said no login, even though there's a password there, so let's just go, and even though there's a password there now configured, it lets me in. So show run. Let's go section con 0. Now section keyword after pipe is basically displaying only a fragment of the configuration, which is the section console 0. So currently there is a password, but if there's no login keyword, I can get in. So what I need to do to add to the line console 0 this login keyword, if I do so, exit out, now I'm going to be prompted for the password. So that's the password Cisco, enable, and another Cisco. That's the password for privilege mode. So show run section con 0. What else do I do here? I'll go back to global config mode, line const 0, and I'll also add the keyword login synchronous. It's already here. This keeps my messages separate from the cursor when something happens. Look, if I do end, there's going to be line display that something will happen in a console configuration, but my cursor is in a separate line. Without this, it's going to be, my cursor would be blinking right here at the very end of that line. That makes it a little bit easier. Okay, what else? Conf-t. Typically, you would say domain lookup, IP domain lookup. Domain name, which would be your DNS server, and domain lookup, which is enabled by default. It would be searching for names if you try to telnet or SSH from the box using the domain name server. I don't have it. So if I mistype the command, it thinks it's a device I'm trying to log into, and it pauses and tries to resolve the name over the DNS server. So what I'm doing in the lab, I'll say no IP domain lookup. So when I mistype the command, it doesn't pause for a few seconds trying to resolve the name. So that will be the basic configuration of this box. So let's just enable also line VTY 04, and let's do password. And again, I'm going to go for Cisco. This should be something different than the other two passwords. And the login keyword. So this will allows, so let's go scroll down to the very end. This will allow to log in to VTY line 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 lines are open for telnet connections. How to do this SSH, I'll do it later in a separate video. For now, it's just a telnet. So let's just save the configuration, copy, run, start. So copy source is the running configuration, and startup is the flash memory on the device, or NVRAM, depending on the box. Do you want to name this way, startup config? Yes. There's a shortcut, the old commands, which is the write memory. I like this one because, first of all, it doesn't ask me the question, should I name this startup config? Because it has to be startup config, so that's easier. Also, this command can be abbreviated to just WR. Bang. Configuration has been saved. After reboot, I've got all I've configured still in place. Now let's go back to the router. So router is now presenting me with this initial configuration dialog. Do you want to enter that? No, I'll do this everything by hand. And I'll repeat the same configuration, similar configuration I did on the switch. So first of all, let's just go back here. Now we wait for this to stop. First of all, I'm going to enable, hostname. So enable mode, conf-t mode, global config mode. Hostname is going to be R1. Enable secret Cisco, and I will say no IP domain lookup. I'll say interface E00. This one has a regular interface Ethernet 00. IP address on this one is going to be 10.1.1.1 with a mask 24 bits, and I'll need to bring this interface up because by default all interfaces of a router are in a shutdown state. Unlike the switch ports are up by default. Do show run interface E00. So here's my configuration. I'll just put extra thing here, description. I'll say this description is, let's just say this is connected connection. Actually, let's go like this. R1 port E00 connection. So do show interface E00. I see now that the interface is in a layer 1 is up. Connection is there to the switch, and layer 2 is up. Description is R1 E00. It's actually connection, sorry. Description should be switch 1 E00 port. That's what this should say. Do show interface description. Let's go like this. And we see that description here as well. So show interface description shows all the description on the port. So do ping 10.1.1. It was 10, I believe. I should get the reply. The first packet is lost on ARP request, and the remaining packets are sent back. So I get now full connectivity to the switch. Now the next thing I'm going to do from this board, I'm going to jump to line console 0, and I will do the same thing I would say password Cisco login keyword login synchronous. If I would go to now line VTY04 space 4 password Cisco login and enable do show run. Did I put the secret password here? Include secret. I did indeed. So all is configured now. I have interface up, I have passwords in appropriate places, so now I should be able to do telnet to my 10.1.1.10. Switch is asking me for the password. That's a VTY password. It was Cisco. And now it's enable, asking me for the secret password for privilege mode. And so it was also Cisco. And voila, I am connected to show users. Show users. So now there should be 2 users connected, one via console. And now from the router, I just logged in. The router address is 10.1.1.1. I just logged into the switch. So that will be the initial configuration. More details and more configurations in the next video.